Welcome to In the Know. I am your host, Tony Reeves. One of the dangers of making decisions by yourself is that the only person you have to rely upon to give you counsel and feedback is you. That is not to say that you cannot make independent decisions on your own, but sometimes we can be our own worst enemy when it comes to making those decisions. Which brings me to an interesting point in my life. A point where I had recently completed my summer job at the University of Tampa, and now I was faced with the decision of how I was going to travel 900 miles from Tampa, Florida to Pine Bluff, Arkansas. And in coming to that decision and the consequences of that decision, we are now at chapter 4 of my life after college journey, choosing to suffer alone. Part 2. During my 4 years at the University of Tampa, I rode the Greyhound Bus. Back then, riding Greyhound was very easy. Greyhound Bus offered an open ticket, which allowed the traveler to travel anytime they wanted. So no reservation was necessary. The ticket was also very cheap. I could travel round trip from Arkansas to Florida for $99. And since I rode the bus several times in my college years, this seemed like a logical mode of transportation. It also made sense because it was very predictable to me. The problem was that when I first started traveling on the bus, I was a broke college student with no money. However, over time, I was put in the position financially where I could actually afford to fly or even ride the train. I got a summer job. I was on college work study. I got a scholarship that offered stipends. And of course, after graduation, the summer job at the University of Tampa. Each of these situations gave me the financial ability to explore other means of transportation. So at the end of the summer job at the University of Tampa, I contacted my mother to tell her that I am getting ready to travel back home. And of course, she asked the question, how are you coming back? I told her that I would be riding the bus. And then my mother did something that she never does. She asked me if I would change my mind. She repeatedly mentioned that she understood why I was riding the bus during my undergraduate years, but what I did not know was that each time I rode the bus, it made her feel very uncomfortable. Since I was paying for the bus ticket and I was adamant that that would be the best way for me to travel, she did not want to change my mind. However, in this situation, she felt it would be in my best interest to explore other mechanisms of travel. I heard her. Did I listen? No. I'm going to travel the way that I know best. And I was adamant that riding the bus was the best way for me. So instead of exploring what it meant to travel by plane or train, I decided that I was going to ride the bus. And let me tell you, riding from Tampa, Florida to Pine Bluff, Arkansas was not a simple affair. It was a 24-hour bus ride one way. I would have to change buses at least 4 times. The last bus I would take would arrive in Little Rock, Arkansas, which was about an hour away from Pine Bluff, Arkansas. So every trip required someone to pick me up in Little Rock. Again, this was not a simple affair. However, since I had taken the bus several times, I had a routine. So I knew what worked best for me. But I should have known when my mother made a comment about asking me not to ride the bus that I should have anticipated that this was going to be a different type of trip. And yes, it was. The first leg of the trip from Tampa, Florida to Tallahassee, Florida had some difficulties at the bus station. I ended up getting on a different bus. Strike one. After arriving in Tallahassee, I found myself surrounded by the police because they were trying to apprehend a criminal who happened to be sitting next to me. Strike two. I also had an uncomfortable experience when I felt queasy and needed to use the bathroom in Birmingham, Alabama. I left my duffel bag at my seat, and when I returned, the bus was gone. Strike three. So here I am. My duffel bag and luggage were gone, and I was freaking out. I ran to the terminal, but the bus had already left. I ran outside in a futile attempt to catch the bus on foot. I eventually went back to the terminal and explained what happened. They suggested that I get on the next bus and try to catch up. I continued the journey, facing further delays, and in the end, I had to deal with a 41-hour ordeal instead of my normal expected 24 hours. Reflecting back on that time, it was not taking the bus that was the biggest problem. It was that I had allowed myself to fall into a comfortable routine of doing something I was so used to doing over and over again that I did not allow myself to consider other options. So many times we find ourselves fixated on doing things a certain way that we never allow ourselves the opportunity to entertain the possibility that there might be a better way of doing it. So when someone challenges your way of doing things, before you cut them off or ignore the suggestions, maybe take a moment to explore, because guess what? They may be right. Thanks again for tuning in to another edition of In the Know. I am your host, Tony Reeves, and as always, I want you to be in the know.